Wait a moment. This isn't a furry visual novel. Hey guys, Nary here from Drakewing Gaming. So if you know me on Twitter, the Gaming Dragon. Today I'm coming back at you with another Let's Play episode of Lyre. So, let's see, the last place we left off, I'm recording this on my laptop. I got the mic working and everything. This is my older laptop, not my new one. My new one's probably going to sound even better. But anyway, yes, there we go. We were having a Lyle was having a conversation from Kadaj. So, it was the point that I was playing last time is that the point of view switched over to Lyle and how he's dealing with all this. But anyway, guys, let's jump right back into it. Please sit back and let me take you for the next 20 minutes, and let's jump right in. Alarm chain, you're up. All right, let's go. Okay, here we go. All right. I'm not entirely sure you know how these things work, but this doesn't look good for him. Or you. I know that, and I'm pretty sure I know how these things work. Lyle is slowly getting more and more annoyed as the conversation continues. Have you ever participated in a ritual? In a trial ritual? No. Have you ever even witnessed a trial? I've witnessed one, but it wasn't for anything big. Maybe Kadaj is right. He might not be prepared for this after all. So you understand how quick something like this can be. They're never quick. This one will be. He was found at the scene of the crime in almost impossible circumstances, accused of killing a king. Not to mention he's not of noble blood. If it wasn't for his rank, he would have most likely been killed on the spot. He's right. Lyle recalls the night when Bjorn tried to kill Luvun. Sometimes he forgets how important blood is. Not to mention his foreign status. If it was a common castle servant or a run-of-the-mill guard, then it wouldn't be that big of a problem. His status makes this 10 times worse. I like to think he didn't do it, but even if he's innocent and found guilty, Lyre will still end up executing a foreign ambassador. And depending on where it goes, it could lead to all-out war. And if he did do it, that'd mean something much worse. He didn't do it. This escapes from Lyle's mouth like a growl, surprising even him. Believe what you want, but that won't help him. I know, but he didn't. I just know it. So that leaves me. That's not what I was implying. God, what voice did I do for Leif? It's been a long time since I voiced it. I'm sorry, am I interrupting something? There we go. Okay, alright, that sounds about right for him. Leif walks up next to Lyle, looking up at the two of them with a curious gaze. No, sir. Sir Reed and I were just talking about Lord Luvun. Leif dons an annoyed expression. Yes, I'm sure everyone is. He turns to Lyle. Can I please borrow you for a moment? But both Leif and Lyle look to Kadaj. Do you mind? No, it's quite all right. There'll be plenty of time to talk later. He swiftly turns to Leif and nods. Lord Leif. Leif's eyes light up for just a moment, and Lyle can tell he's flattered. Actually, it's just Leif. As you please. He looks to Lyle. I hope to speak with you again soon, Sir Lyle. Sure. With that, Kadaj turns around and walks off toward the front of the throne room. Leif takes Lyle by the paw and leads him over to another corner of the room. Lyle has to hunch over a bit, but follows behind. Lyle, I haven't had a chance to say this, but I'm really sorry about everything that happened. I know that our king was like a father to you, and he was a dear friend to me for a very long time. His little gloved wing is still gripping Lyle's paw tightly. Not only that, but our friend from Aaron is accused of being a killer. Lyle can tell that his voice is a bit weak. What I'm trying to say is that I know how you feel. And our poor prince is in a lot of pain because of this. He pulls on Lyle's paw and brings him closer to his face. So please, refrain from speaking about these things in public. This is probably the most worked up Lyle has ever seen Leif. He lets go of his paw and relaxes his body a bit. Alright, I'm sorry. Why shouldn't I? Because right now we need to keep things a bit under control. He lowers his voice to the softest whisper. Lyle has to lean in to hear him, even with his enhanced hearing. If anybody hears of these little conversations, word will spread. Public opinion could be a huge detriment to something like this. If we can't have the situation delve into more chaos than it already has. Do you understand what I'm saying? I suppose. You need to keep a low profile. Feel free to ask questions to those you truly trust, but try to stay away from gossip and rumors. Oh, it wasn't like that. As much as I don't personally trust Kadaj, especially at the moment, he wasn't trying anything like that. It's small, but I do get the feeling that he wants to prevent Luvun's head being put on a spike. Either that, or he just wants the peace that he's always preaching about. Or both. Leif shuffles slightly. This is why I wanted to talk to you in private later. I think I may have found something. Something that has to do with Luvun. I wanted to show it to you first, though. What is it? Leif grips his wings together tightly. I can't talk about it here. Lyle crosses his arms with an impatient look on his face. He didn't think things had to be this private. Okay. I'll head straight to your study after this. Got it? Right. Goodbye for now. Leif scuttles off into the crowd of people and takes his place at the front. Given his height, it makes sense. Lyle goes to take his place in the crowd, yet he overhears something from a group of people. An old lord talking to a man of similar qualities. From what I hear, he was assigned to the trader as a bodyguard by King Raider himself. Glorified servant, if you ask me. It can't be that bad, can it? Yes, well, it grew to be something more than that. Lyle slowly walks up to the man, his paw still resting on his dagger. According to the rumors, they've become something like blasphemous lovers. Honestly, I sometimes wonder why he was even given the rank of captain in the first place. The first noble turns around with a smarmy grin on his face. The second and third already saw Lyle approaching and quickly avert their gazes with embarrassed expressions. I couldn't help but overhear you speaking ill of Lord Luvun. And myself. The fact that Luvun is in a cell won't stop me from letting him fight his own battles, but you've also insulted me. I would advise you not to talk about things you know nothing about. Unless you wish to fight the one of whom you speak so rudely. The man grumbles to himself and straightens his jacket. Please. The lord you speak of isn't even a lord. And despite your rank, you're a northern bumpkin from a dying family. I would be throwing your strength around if I were you, Lord Reed. It's Captain Reed to you. And I'll defend myself against anybody who speaks behind my back like a coward. My allegiance is to this kingdom and its people, but I will not bow to the likes of you. With that, he turns around and walks away. One of the idiots says something, but he doesn't listen. They can have the last word if they want, but he's not going to stoop to their level. He knows that this completely goes against Leif's advice, but he's not just going to let people get away with stuff like that. He still has his pride. If they want to gossip about him or Luvun, they better make sure he's out of earshot. Lyle moves up a bit more toward the center of the crowd and stands in front of a tall bull and bear. He doesn't want to block anyone's view. After about a minute of waiting, the noise begins to calm down. Everyone in the hall is silent, aside from a few whispers. Lyle can see Liz standing off to the side of the throne. Her silhouette is bathed in a golden glow. Across from her is someone in a green robe. They're holding a small pillow, and on it sits the crown. Rainer's crown. It's probably been fit to Adrius' head, but it's still definitely the same crown. It's been passed down through the Ossian family for as long as anybody knows. A door opens at the right side of the room, and there stands Adrius. His face is dull and emotionless, like a statue. He's also wearing a gaudy cloak that Lyle remembers hearing about. It's a wool cloak of a rich green color. The collar is adorned with purple feathers, and the inside is lined with purple fur. This is a ceremonial cloak that all kings wear when they are crowned. He's accompanied by 2 guards who walk him up to the throne and then depart. Oh man! Hello, Thumbnail. Adrius slowly turns to face the crowd. All eyes are upon him and everyone is silent. The musicians have already begun to play their symphony and it fills the hall with angelic noise. The suspense flows out over the audience like a wave as they wait for Adrius to speak. I had not wished to be here, standing before all of you on this day. He pauses shortly into his speech. His voice is a bit shaky, yet he continues. But the day has come, and I cannot lie by saying that I had not prepared for it. Every prince has this responsibility put on them since the day they are born. It terrifies us, it haunts us, and yet we endure. Not for our sake or our fathers', for the sake of the people. Our people. He gestures off to his side in the direction of the castle town. Today I speak for the pride of Lyre, the pride of his kingdom and its people. History has finally crossed paths with destiny, and we as a kingdom must band together as one, to ensure our survival and to take control. He clenched his fist with determination. Liz is looking upon him proudly, and everyone in the crowd is practically holding their breath. But I have one dream. one goal to strive behind. It is a promise to myself and a sacred vow to all of you. I will not lead you astray. I will take action, and there will be no compromise. We will not buckle, break, or yield in the face of those who mean to put us down. We as a kingdom will dig our heels in and push back. You will give me all you have. In return, I will give you everything. His voice wavers a bit, but he keeps going. I will ensure that our kingdom prospers, and I will make no excuses. I am not a man of hollow promises. This is my vow. I, Adrius Alcyon, son of Raynor Alcyon, swear before the lands of Tigran and all of their splendor, that I will leave this kingdom greater than I found it. Let the higher gods bear witness. We will persevere. After taking a moment of pause, he looks down and nods to the person in the cloak. They begin to speak toward him in a soft voice that somehow echoes throughout the hall. Adrius Alcyon, son of Raynor Alcyon and Elena Alcyon, rightful ruler of the Lyrian throne, do you proclaim today that you will protect the people of Lyre and guide them toward a better future? Are you prepared to follow and fulfill the responsibilities of a true monarch by keeping the peace, upholding the law, and administering justice? There's a short pause before he confirms. I will. The hooded figure slowly holds out the pillow. Liz steps forward and takes the crown. She raises it up to place on his head. I now pronounce you King Adrius Alcyon, ruler of Lyre and one of the Holy Triad. The crown is placed upon his head and Liz steps back. May his rule be long and prosperous. The throne room erupts with applause. Lyle claps along with them, but notices something. Oh. Adrius could rarely be caught in a good mood, but an even rarer occurrence was to see him cry. These were not tears that would be shed after witnessing something beautiful, nor were they tears of our proud leader. They were not tears of joy. One second, guys. Oh, God, my legs. Oh. You better not end right there. I just started this. You better not. Hey. Hey. What's going on? Part 2, Adrius. Okay, awesome. Alright. The rest of the day moves by dreadfully slow. Adrius sits on his father's throne, still and uncomfortable. He knows that he belongs here, but it doesn't feel right. It's been his destiny since he was born, but achieving it in this way was not how he wanted it. He looks around the room, his eyes dancing around at the people that fill it. Leaves softly fall down from the overgrown trees above to land among the crowd. Some of them he recognizes from the village. Business owners and shopkeepers. Some of them are wealthy traders. Everyone else is just noble lords and ladies from the rest of Lyre. Their extravagant designs on their clothes contrast the muted color scheme that seems to be so popular at this part of the land. That crafty feline from Driss sticks out like a sore thumb amongst the crowd in his bright green coat. It's not hard to, though. Almost more than half the room is empty by now. Nobles came up to the throne one by one and wished him a long and prosperous rule, shaking his hand and bowing. He'd say he enjoyed this little bit of social interaction, but right now that's the last thing he wants. The amount of emotions he's been keeping bottled up these past 2 days have been taking a toll on him. Right now, he just wishes he could be alone. To his right is Elizabeth. She's leaning against one of the walls, arms down by her side with a dull expression on her face. Even Adrius could never understand why she always looks so bored with everything. She notices him glancing in her direction and approaches. Something wrong? Isn't it obvious? Adrius! She somehow manages to throw him a look of both understanding and irritation at the same time. I apologize. No, it's okay. I know you've been through a lot lately. It's not that. I'm just tired of being surrounded by all these people. He leans toward her. Forgive me, but I'm not in the best state of mind right now. And that's okay. I understand how these things can be a bit emotionally draining. If you want, I can take over from here. Almost everyone is gone now, and the after-party will start in a bit. It's best you go and prepare for that. That's true. He adjusts the crown on his head. It was professionally fitted for him, but it's still a bit big. I suppose I could let you take over, but I don't think there's really much to do from here. If I were to stay, it would probably just be me sitting here watching as everyone talks with each other. He stands from his throne and rests his hand on the armrest. I know that your position as war minister is being tested right now. The future isn't looking too bright, but in order to achieve my dream, we'll need to play it smart. Of course. I'll offer my advice wherever I can. Sometimes Adrius wonders why his father even had an advisor. To him, it seems like he treated everyone like a consultant. Your advice is welcome. At least I'll have someone older than myself for an advisor. Yes, I suppose. It is something that always bothered me about Father. What's that? I mean no offense by this, but why did he choose you as an advisor? Given it's usually standard to have someone much older than oneself advise you on these matters. She at first seems confused, but then equips that smirk she always has. Your father never saw it that way. He once told me that wisdom and age aren't everything. He valued the youth of our generation, said that our outlook on life and untainted experiences were what this world needed in order to achieve a brighter future. All of that along with a king who chose to listen to the right people. Adrius taps a leaf on the ground with his hoof while listening to Elizabeth. She leans forward, looking into his eyes with her hands behind her back, as if to get his attention. He believed that advice could be found anywhere. Trust me, growing up he had plenty of old and wise men and women teaching him everything he knew. But as he got older, he searched for a different point of view, choosing people he trusted to lead a good example, whether young or old. As she says this, Adrius glares out into the crowd and spots Lyle. He's talking with another wolf, a local baker from the looks of it. They finish their conversation and Lyle heads out into the hall. Adrius steps away from the throne, still looking at Lyle. Not everyone has. Adrius, please don't. I just want to talk to him. He snaps his fingers, signaling to two guards standing by the side door to follow him. They quickly rise from their slumped-over positions and follow behind him. Adrius walks down the steps and heads straight down the long green carpet, people stepping out of his way and bowing. He pays them no attention, his eyes trained on that bastard as if he had tunnel vision. Ever since that night, he's been wanting to confront him alone. Lyle's been sulking about ever since as if it was his father that was murdered. Oh yes, he must be so conflicted. Adrius exits the throne room and turns the corner, looking down the hall. He spots Lyle, moseying down the corridor. His tail is swishing left to right in an almost rhythmic way, causing his cape to flutter side to side. He's not going in the direction of his room, though. Dog! He slumps his shoulders and turns around slowly with a look of annoyance. But, King Adrius! How many times must I beg you not to call me that? That's what dogs do, though, right? They beg. The guard stands behind Adrius now, their faces expressionless and their gaze straight ahead. I suppose. Anyway, what do you want? He says this with a tone of indignation. Adrius fiddles with his shoulder cape as he speaks. Oh, it's nothing. I just wanted to speak with you about everything that's happened, personally. These past few days have been rather busy. Lyle straightens himself out a bit. Yes, they have. I'm really sorry about what happened. To lose one's father is a truly terrible thing. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. Adrius grips his shoulder cape a bit tighter in his fist. He's been hearing several different variations of that phrase all week. None of them have felt genuine except for his, which irks him the most. Yes, thank you for the kind words. But that's not what I wanted to talk about. Lyle slumps down a bit more. His shoulders are as low as they can be. Oh. Yes, I'm sure you saw this coming, but I wanted to talk about your assignment. Guarding the traitor and all that. He jumps at this statement. He didn't do it! Yes, I know that you believe with all your heart that he wasn't the one to do it. But can't you see that he's lying to you? Lyle is silent, glaring at him with those wolven eyes. He wouldn't lie to me. Really? How do you know that? He goes to speak, hesitates, then continues. Because I know him. Better than you, at least. Oh, of course. He just rolls his eyes at this notion. You silly dog. I barely know him, and I'm assuming the worst about him with strong evidence. You've only known him for, let's be generous, and say a month. And yet you act like you know him enough to assume he is perfectly innocent. Those two don't really seem comparable, do they? Lyle's lip quivers a bit before making an irritated expression. Quickly turns around and begins to walk in the opposite direction. I've had enough of this conversation. It's been fun, but You're going to visit him right now, aren't you? He staggers a bit and with his footsteps and turns around while still walking. No, I'm actually just... You love him, don't you? Lyle then stops in his tracks completely. After all he's done. He stands there with his mouth agape, clearly thinking of how to respond. Adrius enjoys the way people have to tread on glass while speaking with him. One little slip-up and they're putty in his hands. Finally, he speaks. I don't really know what you're talking about. Oh, but you do. I can see it in those big eyes of yours. Adrius steps forward, with his hands behind his back, leaning in a bit. Are you sure he's not just leading you on? If I recall, it happened before in the past. Lyle visibly clenches his fist. That was different. Adrius crosses his arms over his chest and nods. Yes, of course. Only you would know. Luvun is different. Huh, so you do love him. Lyle turns to walk away. Really, I must be... Tell me, did you fall head over heels for him before or after he fucked you? Shut up, Adrius! Adrius doesn't move from his spot, but the two guards behind him flinch a little as Lyle lets his emotions get the better of him. I'm going to pretend that was a question, not a statement. For your sake. Lyle realizes what he just did and backs down, his tail tucked between his legs. I'm sorry, What was that? Let's go back. Don't apologize, you fool. I'm going to make one thing perfectly clear, do you understand? You're not to visit with him anymore. I'm sorry? Luvun. Ooh. Oh, what a place to end it. Holy shit. Oh, man. Oh, my God. All right. Ooh, man. Oh, Adrius making some big moves. I really wonder if he was behind this. Or at least he had some part of it or some knowledge that it was going to happen. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and ring that notification bell to the next video. I love you all. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye!